This video we are going to discuss what happens to the market equilibrium when there is a change in both demand, so changes in both demand and supply. Demand and supply. So there can be four possible scenarios. The first one being increasing in both demand and supply. So the first one being increase demand and supply. The second possible scenario would be decrease in both demand and supply. Third one would be increase in demand and decrease in supply. And the fourth one would be decrease in demand and increase in supply. So what happens to market equilibrium according to these market forces? So it's very simple, as we have explained in the previous video. You have to see the demand curve and how demand and supply curve to find the market equilibrium and make the changes accordingly. So this would be price, quantity and zero, S1, D1. So here it's going to be increase in both demand and supply. So both these curves are going to shift to the right. So when shift to the right, this would be D2 and this would be S2. So where D2 and S2 are intersecting is here in this equilibrium. This would be E2 and this would be E1, where S1 and D1 are intersecting. So as you can see here, by the change of S2, the supply and demand, equilibrium can either be lower than the equilibrium 1 or higher, but the most important observation here is that it will be always the quantity will be higher than the previous equilibrium because there is both increase in demand and supply. So what happens when there is decrease in demand and supply? Price, quantity, 0, S1, D1. So there is decrease means both these curves are going to shift to the left, this side. So this would be the new demand, D2, and S2, S1 is going to shift to the left to S2. So S1 and D1 are intersecting here, this would be E1, and S2 and D2 are intersecting here at E2. So as you can see here, the quantity has been reduced significantly from the earlier market equilibrium, and the price, maybe it's the same, it can be lower, it can be higher, but the most important, according to the change of the market forces, but the most important observation here is that the quantity will be definitely reduced from Q1 to Q2. So what happens to the demand and supply? Demand increases and supply decreases. So we draw the curves here. This would be S1, D1, this is price, quantity, 0. So demand is increasing, so demand is shift to the right, D2, and but supply is shift to the left, S2. So as you can see here, supply S2 and D2 are intersecting here at this equilibrium point. This was earlier equilibrium. So the most important observation here is that the price is going to definitely increase, but we cannot say about the quantity. It can be the same or it can even actually reduce. So the important observation is that price will definitely increase from P1 to P2 because the demand has increased and supply has decreased. So definitely the price has to increase. So the fourth scenario would be here. This is D1, this is quantity, price, origin. We have S1. So demand is going to decrease. So that means going to shift to the left, D2. And supply is going to increase. It's going to shift to the right, S2. So here you can see the initial equilibrium was here, E. And now the equilibrium has come down here, E2. So in this observation, the most important observation here is that the price will definitely reduce. So because the demand has decreased and supply has increased. So in all four graphs, we can see that in the first graph, definitely the quantity has increased. Here, definitely the quantity has decreased. Here, the price has increased significantly, and here the price would be reduced significantly. So these are the four observations: what happens to the market, for what happens to the market equilibrium, and the prices and the quantity for the changes in both demand and supply.